I'm here today with Chesky Weinberger from TopazHR, who does a lot of different services in the HR space and has offices in many states and international as well. Thank you for coming by.
Absolutely, Aaron. It's a pleasure, and I'm happy to be here with you, Aaron, from MegaPay. What I know about MegaPay is that people are extremely happy with the service, and that's something that is so important in a space where service can be a big headache when it comes to payroll. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, and let's dive right in.
Absolutely.
We're going to discuss the new mandates for 401k for New York and New Jersey. I have a lot of clients who asked a lot of questions about it. When is it going into effect? And we're almost there. So what is in it for them? What is the new mandate? What is a 401k?
Absolutely. You got it. So 401k, simply put, is a vehicle to save money for retirement. Within that, there are several options, but that's the high-level thing. Now, the mandate is that the government in a variety of states is now requiring employers to offer a 401k. It's important to distinguish which states are requiring it and what threshold of employees they have and what the dates are that go into effect. So in New York, by July, anybody with more than 10 employees is going to have one in effect. As of now, the earlier date is March is 30 plus employees, May is 15 to 29 employees, and then like I said in July is 10 plus. For New Jersey, it's 10 employees plus, and it already went into effect in 2024. I think these are the states where most people, it's relevant for most people, so I'm going to focus on those, although there are about a dozen more that already have these mandates, and it's probably going to. I think it's also interesting to talk about why is the government requiring this?
Right.
Do you think about that?
Why are they requiring it? And in fact, New York put it into law a year or two ago, but they're only now starting to enforce it.
Yeah. So the penalties are. I think it's also important to understand what's if I don't do it, right? Because there are certain things that, like BLS statistic reports, right? You're supposed to, you have to, and you should, but everyone likes to understand what are the penalties for non-compliance. So I think it's important to speak on that too. The penalties for non-compliance now varies, and the enforcement is still low because it's fairly new. So it's fair to say, do not take this as legal advice. It's fair to say that there's going to be a little bit of grace, and the penalties aren't going to be as aggressive, but they're going to ramp up. With that being said, I think it's just a great idea for employers to offer this, especially if they're not going to match, which many people won't in the beginning. It doesn't cost a lot. It doesn't take much to set it up. Why not? Great retention tool, especially if you do match. But yeah. So why they're requiring it? Here's a theory. Don't fact check me on this, but my theory is, it's not my theory, I read this. The Social Security program that has helped people prepare for retirement traditionally may not be enough. So this may be the reason why the states are starting to make it more easy and accessible for people to save for retirement.
Right. So that's why the states are starting to mandate it, so employers provide it for the employees as a tool. But to confirm it, the matching is not what's required by law. They just have to provide a plan.
The vehicle, let's call it as a vehicle. Yeah.
They have to bring the vehicle, but they don't have to do any matching.
That's correct.
Now, the state has their own plan as well, which that's now when the state's plan became available is when they're starting to enforce the penalties if you're not in compliant. Why should someone choose a private plan over the state's plan if they should?
Sure. Yeah, it's a very, very fair and valid question. So
a lot of people ask it, especially that it's free.
Yeah, 100%. Free is an interesting word because there's always strings attached with free, right? Take this free 3-hour seminar and then you end up with a timeshare for 20 years. So yeah. And then why should somebody pay for a state plan? So a non-state plan, a private plan. So the short answer is it does not take much and it does not cost much to set up a private plan. And the truth is, I believe in the long run, not even in such long run, you can end up saving money by setting it up and having it private. That's just from a dollars and cents perspective, simply because it's less work. So the state plan doesn't have a lot of integrations with payroll providers. I know MegaPay integrates with, I don't know how many 401k, many 401k providers. So it's simple, right? Somebody elects a deduction, there's an open file feed, boom, done. Pretty straightforward. Versus the state only integrates with 54 providers. So if you're not one of them, you're going to be doing weekly or bi-weekly, depending on where you're on payroll, manual downloads and uploads. That costs time, that costs money.
And calculating the deductions from the employees.
It's a lot of manual work. We're in the automated work. Why would you want to do manual work? So that's the first, the dollars and cents perspective. Now, in addition to that, a lot of these providers, and I think we should talk about which provider is right for who, have very user-friendly tools where people can do calculations, see where their investments are, where it's up to, easily have control of their money. Another thing is the state runs the DMV. How efficient is that? Do you want your money being run by somebody? You need to take
a day off to go to the DMV, but you won't enjoy a day off.
Right. And now you want that type of mentality running your retirement money or your employees' retirement money and their fiduciary responsibilities as an employer if you set up this vehicle, that I'm not sure you want the state involved in that. So is it a terrible idea? No. Probably not the smartest from an efficiency perspective. So yeah, it costs a couple dollars to set up, but there are tax incentives, again, even without a match, there are tax incentives.
I want to say we're not going to go into the tax perspective.
Yeah.
And it's also more an IRA versus a 401k.
Right, and there are limits. Like if your employees are actually going to contribute, the state fund, you can only go up to $7,000. Don't quote me on it, but I believe it's around $7,000. Versus the private ones, you fall under the limits, which is now $24,500. So those are some of the good reasons to strongly consider setting it up. You're in control.
Right.
Let's talk about a match, because you're going by default about a non-match. Why should employers not consider matching? So the probably the most common answer you're gonna get, it's another expense. It's expensive enough to do it. Is it really? Is it really an expense? Let's talk about it. So the maximum exposure, assuming somebody does a safe harbor at 4%, the maximum exposure, if everybody contributes, is 4% on your payroll, which sounds like a lot. First, statistically, not everybody's going to contribute. Right. Second of all, your employer contributions could be tax deductible. There are a lot of variables that play into that. Another thing is, it is a good retention tool. When employees feel like you're invested in their future, it just speaks louder than words, right? There's a famous saying, put your money where your mouth is. So yeah, put your money where your mouth is. You believe, you like, you appreciate, then put your money where your mouth is. So I would say, actually crunch your numbers, or even if you're not ready for that, you can do that down the line. But opening the vehicle proactively, not when it's mandated, also sends a message.
With retention, and same thing is with recruiting and hiring as well, when 100%. You offer benefits and matching.
100%. Match helps, but it ties into the whole conversation of benefits, which is an important one. But yeah, this is something that it literally costs less than $5,000, generally speaking, to set it up. And with tax credits after year one, it probably doesn't cost more than $2,000-$3,000 to have this whole vehicle set up. And with most providers, total setup time is probably less than an hour. Right? In your experience, has it been the case?
It's a simple setup.
Yeah, it used to be, right? Some people think 401k, money, it used to be you need to have a record keeper and a TPA and a this and all this. And with today's technology, it's really simple.
Right. You mentioned a couple of, I don't think you mentioned the names earlier, but there are many providers.
Yeah.
What should someone look for when they want to choose a 401k provider? Mm-hmm. And if you want to say names, sure. Who are a few good ones? I know you hooked up us with providers back a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, who's the people that people should look, and what should they look for?
So, very good question. I think this is true for any provider, right? Correct. So, and I would say the first thing is it easy to talk to them? And do they make the technical parts easy, and are they transparent? Are they responsive, right? Just like anybody you're going to work with. So I'll start with human interest, because they're very friendly, and that's the one that I think you're referring to. They're very easy to work with, and they have great customer service. That means your employees, if they have questions, first will have a great portal and product, and they also have great customer service. Matter of fact, they used to have their customer service team outsourced, I don't know exactly how, and because of the feedback, they brought it back. So really, really great on the customer service, easy tool to use. Some of the other good ones, Betterment, 401go. It really depends on your employee population, who your payroll provider is. If you want to auto enroll and the employees have to opt out, versus another thing to think about.
The auto opt-out is something that we also have to discuss. So I'm going to come back to. Right.
So again, these are the things you should think about.
Let me be the client for 1 second. I have 12 employees, so I'm just above the limit that I need to. In July, you will be. Correct. Right. And I want to be proactive, so I'm going to do it now. Mm-hmm. Who should I choose when I start now?
So if you have just 12 employees, first.
I'm a smaller company.
Yeah.
But I have to be compliant with the mandate.
Right. So first, reach out either to your payroll company or your friendly HR firm. Either will be able to answer questions and make sure that there's an integration first, right? That's the first thing. And then we'll go through a list of questions. We got this down to a science. It takes us 10 minutes. Typically, it takes us less than 10 minutes. And people are filled with which is going to cost us. If people call me with this 10-minute thing, I'll help them out. It's literally 10 minutes. So again, is your employee population tech savvy? Is it going to be easy for them if you auto-enroll them or don't? 12 employees is not that much. I'm talking about those that have more.
These are considerations.
There's also cost. Some of them allow you to pass the cost on, or some of the cost on to the employees. Some of you don't. Some of these carriers don't, right? So going back to that choosing thing, that's important. Funds lineup is also, again, getting a little bit more technical, but effectively these monies are going into the markets, right?
Right.
So some of them have more, the state, by the way, going back to that, the state doesn't have very rich funds lineup. These private ones, they have thousands, and they also allow you to have an RIA attached to it to really help make sure that that money is being invested well. Yeah, again, this one, let me ask you back. You have 12 employees. Do you think your employees care about a retirement fund?
Some do, some don't.
Great. So those that do, would you want to promote this or just leave it as a snooze thing? I know it sounds like an interesting question, but some people say just set it up and snooze it.
I'd want to promote it because I'm seeing firsthand on the retention that it brings.
Beautiful.
And caring for these people.
Beautiful. So you want to create you want to partner with somebody that's going to have great educational material, because nobody's going to, unless you're hiring somebody to come in and do everybody's personal financial things to make sense, you want to give them somebody that has great information to share about how much, how to save, where that money goes. These are all important questions. Yeah.
Right. I want to go back to what you mentioned with the state about auto-enrollment. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. With the state's plan, they require you to auto-enroll all employees, even if they didn't want to enroll.
Do they? Yeah. You have to have
one of the things. You have to auto-enroll You have to auto-enroll all the employees. Versus with the private plans, there's a
opt-in versus opt-out.
There's an opt-in versus an opt-out. Correct.
Right. So personally, I think that forcing employees anything with their money, making them do extra work, is not a great idea. So ideally, you want to partner with somebody that they have the option to opt in. I would encourage them to provide a lot of education to employees to make a good decision for them, but don't opt people into anything that they didn't ask for. And they have to opt out, and then you have to call them and prepare them to opt out.
Correct. The employee living paycheck to paycheck doesn't want another payroll deduction all paycheck.
And then if they're on the field, whatever, you have to call them, walk them through the app.
Correct.
It's just why.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't really see a great benefit to that. Again, in most cases, every case is unique.
Now, what happens if an employee does participate for 2 years and the employee leaves the company? He's opening his own business now or finds another position. What happens?
It's a great question. It depends how much money they have in the plan, and it depends on how you set up your plan, right?
So the responsibility is on the employer.
Initially, it's on the employer, how they set up the plan, and again, it depends how much money they have accumulated. Some plans, you can force them out, so you cut them a check, but typically employees will, if they're joining another company, they'll roll it over, or they'll have the option to roll it over into an individual retirement account, an IRA, something that has similar tax parameters. So generally speaking, it's not a concern for the employer, as long as when they set it up, they have those parameters set, and pretty straightforward. So not a great concern for employees when they're setting it up.
Right.
How can employees use this money? I think that's also a question that you probably
right, because a lot of the employees that don't want to put it in, I'll talk about to myself. I want the money before the retirement age. What is it, 65?
Generally speaking.
So I don't want to lack the money.
Right.
is there anything that I can do to access it earlier?
Yes. So that's another very common question is employees want to know what happens to this money, right?
Correct.
And the answer is generally the thought process should be that this money is going away until retirement and it's not going to be accessible. That's a good mindset. And I want to talk a couple minutes about the employees that are seeing this, what they should be thinking if this is offered at their job, their workplace. So
because a lot of employees are going to watch it. A lot of the people handling the payroll is actually the employee in the company.
right.
So they are going to see it.
So if they're thinking about this for themselves,
correct. Should
how
they
can they
enroll?
access
Should
it?
they not?
Exactly.
When can they access it and how?
very, very good question. So generally speaking, it's for retirement, right? That's the goal. However, there are hardship withdrawal. A person can take out the money. Let's be clear. It's their money.
Okay.
They could take it out. It's just very expensive for them to take it out.
There's going to be penalties.
Double-digit percentage, 30, 40% in a lot of cases if they take it out sooner, right? Just tax
Okay.
implications and whatnot. So to totally take it out, probably not a great idea. However, there are hardship loans where they can take out. There's in a variety of buying your first home is a popular one where I've seen many employees take advantage of it. And I'll share a quick story that will help people. So general investment logic says that the money is going to double pretty much every 10 years from whatever they started out initially. Look up, do your own math. This is not financial advice.
Okay, disclaimer.
Yeah.
But that's without playing it on, just by leaving it in the...
Yeah, so if somebody were to take $500 now, not contribute anymore, leave it, it should double. Typically, general markets, general funds should double its value within 10 years. Obviously, as you contribute, it snowballs. There are great calculators out there to see what it looks like. Now, somebody's entering the workforce fairly young. They're not thinking about any expenses, not thinking about retirement, right? I would tell them, contribute something that's not going to hurt you. Just let it go in there. Fast forward a few years, they're looking for a down payment. They need some extra cash. They can borrow money from their 401k fund. They're going to pay interest on it. However, in most cases, if they pay it back within 5 years, the interest that they're paying is going to go back to them, as opposed to they're borrowing this money from a personal loan. They're paying more than whatever, and they're not going to get interest.
Correct me if I got it wrong. So if I were to set up a deduction on my payroll of $50 per week, after a couple of years, I want to take that out as a loan to buy a house for a down payment.
Yep.
I'm going to pay interest, but as long as I pay it back within the 5 years, I'm essentially paying the interest to myself from one pocket to the next.
Correct. So you can borrow the whole amount, probably up to half of it. And if you're only doing $50 a week, you're probably buying a house in Arkansas. This is just a side note. But yeah.
But you're saying is that if I pay it back within 5 years, I'm essentially
paying it with interest to yourself.
To myself, which is then going to compound interest on that as well.
Correct.
And if I don't pay it back within 5 years, if I do it with 7,
it would likely be classified as an early withdrawal, and all the penalties would apply.
So it's tax penalties, and you don't get the interest, right?
Yeah, which is the greatest loss. So if there is, to kind of sum this up and wrap it up for employers, it's pretty easy, simple. Let me say this again. To sum up this, how would you sum up this conversation, Aron? What should be the key takeaways? What are your key takeaways and the key takeaways you want people watching this to have from this conversation?
So I want people to understand the compliance part, where they have to provide it now, because we have it a lot. People, I didn't know, and now they have penalties. So make sure you're set up properly. Discuss which provider is the right one for you. So that's for employers to know. And I think most people know they don't want to work with the state directly. They can do their payroll themselves. They can work with the Department of Labor themselves. They can do a lot of things. For employers to make sure enough ahead of time to be enrolled and everything. For employees, you gave us a lot of clarity and insight. It's a good way to save money. It's a good way to save money, to grow your money, and you can because where people are stuck, myself included, why I don't want to put in too much money there, which you told me now, is
that you're locking it up.
I don't want to lock it up until the age of 65. So if I can take a loan out, it's something to consider, something to take into the picture.
Right. I think that's a good point. And just to echo it, for employers, it's easier now than ever to set it up and get ahead of the curve. Reach out to you, myself, whoever you feel comfortable with, to discuss it. There's a ton of resources to get it done. There are great providers out there. It's very cost effective. And for employees, be smart, your future self will thank you, right? It's easy to be in compliance. A lot of times it sounds like it's a lot, but really when you get down to it, it's fairly simple. If you're dealing with the right people, it's fairly simple and straightforward to get into compliance and maintain compliance. And then for employees, please be smart.
Is there any good stories that employees should be able to relate it more to themselves? Like, well, what is it actually?
Yeah, here's an employee that stands out. An employee story with retirement savings that stands out. So many years ago, well, not that many, but years ago, when we were doing a rollout for a group, right? Part of what we do is benefits implementation, those conversations with employees on behalf of our clients. So we're talking, there was a young man that was there doing well in terms of earning money, not a lot of expense. And he pulls me aside, he's like, why should I do this? So I told him, he's like, I'm good, everything's okay. Why is this for me? That was basically his question, is this for me? So I explained to him that ultimately it's a personal decision. However, I'm a big fan of it. I personally started investing in retirement savings at a very young age, and I've seen it grow nicely, and I'm a big fan of it. So we're having that conversation. I was like, you know what, look, how much money is not going to hurt you on a monthly basis? You throw out a number of a couple $100. I said, you know what, do that. It's not going to hurt you. Meaning to say this is play money anyways. Put it in there. You're not going to feel it. Great. Fast forward, that company is doing well. We're still supporting them, not as actively. This person moved on from that company. He tracked me down. He calls me probably 7 years later, 7 or 8 years later. He calls me. He was with them for 5. He was out from there for 2, and he started those pretty early on in his career over there. So essentially, he was saving for 5 years, right?
Okay.
He calls me and says, hey, remember once you told me that there's this money thing account that I shouldn't think about unless whatever.
Totally forgot it exists.
Yeah, he knew he had put a chunk of change. He didn't remember what it was.
Exactly.
It wasn't exactly. So he calls me and says, yeah. He's like, how I'm about to buy a house and I'm short $50,000 for the down payment. I really, could use it. Do you think I have that much? I did a quick calculation, and he was saving pretty nicely. I knew he's going to have at least that he can borrow against it. So I gave him the information, which carrier it was, how he can access it, and whatnot. He calls me back a couple days later, and he says, I remember that conversation. I could not have imagined I would ever be as happy that I listened to you as I am now, because he had that money, didn't need to borrow from friends and family, was able to make the down payment, pay it back within 5 years. It made sense for his finances. And that's one of the recent stories that stand out. But there are many, what is known in America as 401k millionaires. Many of them, I don't have the statistics, look it up, but there are many millionaires, again, up there in age that have consistently saved and became millionaires in retirement or before retirement just because they were disciplined about saving. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Big fan.
I like stories. So,
yeah.
On the not complying, I know the law is not into effect, but there are many other states where it is in effect for quite some time, and you work in a lot of other states, if not all, correct?
Yeah, we serve companies in almost all states.
Okay. So for employers, what is how does it work? Example, if I'm not complying, I know there's a penalty. How's it going to go? Do they check? Is there a certain certification that I need to do with them, reporting? What happens? Is it something they can fight? Like, I didn't know. I'm doing one now.
Right.
Take me a little bit.
So it's a great question. It's a great question. I don't know firsthand of the states that already enforce the penalty and what it looks like. Generally speaking, though, in the beginning they're more lax and the penalties aren't as aggressive. So I don't want to make a promise that you can fight it or that you shouldn't care, but maybe. Again, ultimately though, it's not a lot of money to set it up. So why be that person that's going to wait to figure it out and find out? So I have to check with our benefits team if they would know if there's a specific story that stands out and if those penalties are being aggressively enforced. I don't think so.
He doesn't have any clients that are not in compliance.
Yeah, no. Well, generally speaking, once they're working with us, they are in compliance.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. I asked you for a story. Someone wasn't.
So it could be because many companies come to us after they find out what compliance means.
They're already in a mess.
Exactly, but I don't think with this in particular there is one. Many other Department of Labor story,
Not going to go into this now.
Not right. No, good stuff.